We used to go 3 o'clock in the morning on a banner run, poster run, and just plaster banners and posters everywhere. And so we started, people the next morning going to work would see like Plum live at Carfax or 206 or wherever we were playing, just throwing over the banner. And yes, it was illegal, but that's the only way we could get our name out there, you know, and that was per show. So we were busy.
How's it going? You've got another episode of Sludge Underground with Nasiphi. I am the founder of Sludge Underground, and today I've got one of the members of one of the greatest bands to come out of South Africa, Plum. I'm here with Warren. Warren, how are you doing, bro?
Nasiphi, I'm doing very well, thank you. And how's it to all your viewers? It's a good day.
I do want to send a shout out to Warren as well, who actually organized this interview, one of the greatest to do it. Shout out to Plug Music Agency as well for handling it and being able to make this happen. So when I was basically reading up on everything, Plum, I noticed, one of the things that actually jumped for me was an article that was actually done by Tex in the City, as part of your recent rollouts as well, where it was mentioned that, you guys have basically built a cult the old-fashioned way. Break it down for me, man, because I don't suppose, gathering sort of like a cult following is the same as it was maybe back then. Break down the fundamentals for me of how that actually goes down.
I could tell this story for hours, but we don't want to be here for that long. So Kevin and I started, like, if I have to really go back, it goes back right until we were at school. Kevin and I are cousins, our dads are brothers. Yeah. True Lebanese style, like very close family. We've grown up like brothers. So Kevin and I started following in the footsteps of Kevin's older brother and our uncles of being in bands. I think we started our first band in Standard 8, which is grade 10 to the 2026s. And I think we started playing covers because that's how you learn. And we were playing in clubs way before we were allowed to be in clubs. We started off with a very much a cover band material. We would play Braamfontein Town. We would get residencies. And it was really all just a cover scene. Then in the later 90s, something sparked in South African music that still needs to be documented somehow. Maybe you can do something about it, Nasiphi. Is that something happened because there was no digital media in the late 90s. But something happened in South African music where all of a sudden, kind of like the grunge movement maybe had an influence on it, where it's okay to write your own songs. Everyone is doing covers. You could only get proper gigs if you were doing covers. And then everyone started coming out. It was like, we're good enough. We can show up imperfectly and do our own material and see how it goes down. Bands like Springbok Nude Girls, real legacy bands started really coming up, and we started Plum then as well. We had started doing it before in a previous group called Instant Karma, which was a spin-off from the cover materials fused into new material through a slight lineup change, and we came out with Plum. And all these bands around us started popping out. There was a vibe. There was a synergy in Joburg, in Cape Town. Everyone had their own sounds. Durban had Urban Creep. Cape Town had Springbok Nude Girls, and Joburg had bands like Plum and Blue Chameleon, who then became Boo. So it's and then you talk about old school publicity. It's basically getting off your ass and like seriously putting banners up over bridges of where you're playing the next show. You still see those old banners. We had a song called Herb from the Banner Man because we shared we shared a room or a floor in Carfax. It was still called Silos then, where we built up our own studio, and we shared a room with a guy that just used to build banners. Like that was his job. Yule, you've seen him on TV. He's also an actor. And we used to go 3 o'clock in the morning on a banner run, poster run, and just plaster banners and posters everywhere. And so we started, people the next morning going to work would see like Plum live at Carfax or 206 or wherever we were playing, just throwing over the banner. And yes, it was illegal, but that's the only way we could get our name out there, Banners across M1 bridges, it was classic. Everyone knows the TAPS logo, right? I mean, we see TAPS everywhere. It was kind of like that sort of thing, a poster there, a banner there. And that was per show. So we were busy. And then in
Very
terms of
busy.
recording and trying to get our stuff out there, we had a single in 1996 called Lifetime Partner. It was one of the first songs we had ever written, and radio didn't know what to do with it. There was one radio DJ that hooked onto it, even not even Barney Simon or anyone. It was daytime radio, and he hooked onto that, and that just hit the airwaves hard. It kind of leveled up with Squeal and Sugar Drive and Springbuck Noodles at the time, and that just got us onto the map. It was like, who's this band rapping and trip hop and a little bit of drum and bass? Like, who is this? You know? And that's how Plum kind of started. We just kind of put our feet in, and that became our day job, our night job, and we locked ourselves in the studio. We rehearsed more than we recorded, which was our biggest mistake. Still to this day, it feels like we should have released things a lot more than we rehearsed them. But we were young and we were kids, and that's all we wanted to do. We wanted to
Mm.
play in bands. We wanted to be in the band room. We had a rehearsal space where we rented out to other bands. So that was also like a good way to get our name around there just with the band people. And we did a lot of collaborations with other artists. And then we released a brilliant album called All and Nothing in 2006. And that was kind of like a history of all of our material. We even re released some tracks. And that took off very cool in the alternative dark underground world. Not even that underground. It was kind of like no one really knew where to put Plum. We weren't metal. We weren't grunge. We weren't new metal. We weren't rap. We weren't hip hop. We weren't rock. We weren't blues. It was like what? And I think we still kind of have that feeling. Like no one really knows. Can't pigeonhole this stuff. I don't know where it comes from. And I said to Kev the other day, we were on tour in Cape Town, and we were saying, like, should we choose? We still have the same conversations. It doesn't matter how much you've locked onto your sound. It's like, should we steer the ship into a specific direction? And my answer's always been the same. It's just, let's just write, and what feels right, we record it
Mm.
and release it. And how it lands, it lands. And, you asked the comparison of today, 2026, trying to make an impact on the scene or just get known compared to 1996 or 2006 when there was no digital media platforms, there was no streaming, there was no quick satisfaction TikTok videos, there was no 30-second blurbs on YouTube. There was nothing like that. It was all in your face. You either had to be seen or heard, or you just weren't even existent. Now we've got this whole social media thing, Plum on social media, and our songs are streaming. And we've had to hire management to take care of that because it's too much. It's like how management are always phoning us saying you got to do a social, and it's not our favorite part. Like put us in a band room to record or write, we're great. But to put socials out there all the time and to keep on the social platform, I understand it's needed, but there's bands out there. I mean, there's AI artists who are huge, and no one's really even sure if they're AI or not. That's the world we're living in now. So yeah, there's a lot of getting our hands dirty in the beginning.
I love that answer. I love how well fleshed out it is. There are so many good points that you touched on that I feel like we can definitely expand on. The first one you mentioned, Lebanese. You're probably the second, Lebanese, sort of, descendant, or whether there's like Lebanese blood in the family and so on. But like the very first person that I knew that was Lebanese was a guy. His name is Brandon Kite, and they've actually moved up to Wales, him and his wife. They used to be in a band here. Anyone who's in Durban will know that I'm talking about royalty here and people who really just did a lot for the scene. But
Yeah,
one thing that I noticed about him is just the work ethic. And I don't know if this is a Lebanese thing, man, but like the work ethic,
yeah.
one of the hardest working people I know and one of the kindest, people I know as well. So when
Thank
you
you.
say, it's a family thing, it's a tight-knit family thing, I absolutely see it because I've witnessed it firsthand, from a mate and so on. Just
Thank
in
you.
passing quickly, are you guys, are there actual links to like Lebanon and so on?
There is, I mean, but it's quite distant now. It's a distant link. But it's amazing. I'm getting to meet people. Like we played a show last week in Stellenbosch, and the owner of the club that we played at, Ramon Corey, his great
Yeah.
grandparents are from the same village in Lebanon that my great grandparents are from Sabal. So we were, and it's a tiny
Wow.
village. So like
Nice.
we were probably like back then neighbors or Who knows? Maybe closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cook
You
for
guys
you.
definitely need to connect.
We'll do anything. And I think we're hardworking, not only because we're Lebanese, but we're South Africans. South Africans are hardworking people. We've had to dig deep. Everything is
Definitely.
done in the private sector almost. And I don't want to really get political, but, like we all have to dig deep in our own guts to try and make something happen. And in terms of being Lebanese, well, we a society or a ancestry of merchants. That's
Oh,
we've got that
nice.
set up a shop and sell and get back and travel
Right.
somewhere else, set up shop and sell and work with our hands. My dad was a carpenter. Well, I come
Mm,
from a carpentry family, so yeah, that's cool.
nice.
Yeah,
It's absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And another point that you touched on, bro, was obviously how, you mentioned having that sort of DIY thing that you guys were doing back in the day, 90s, and you guys were, creating banners and so on. And you guys managed to get on radio. You guys were up there with the likes of Springbok Nude Girls. But then you said something concerning after that, when you said, fast forward to 2005,
yeah,
and you guys obviously released the body of work that you guys released, and it sort of was played mostly in the underground. So now I'm noticing a bit of a shift, because back in the day, you guys had a more hands on approach and so on, and all the things that you were mentioning. And you guys managed to get on radio. You're up there with the biggest bands. And
yeah,
then in 2005, you're releasing something and it's underground.
yeah,
So you mentioned social media, you mentioned the times changing, and obviously being in people's faces, attention spans and all that there, but I don't suppose it's all that easy, considering that obviously I can't compare 2005 to 2026, but I mean, tell me about the differences between the 90s and 2005 before we
sure.
even get to today, because you
So,
guys were putting in the work then, but then it went underground, compared to the 90s, where you put in the work and it went on radio.
yeah, that's a great perception, Anna CD, and I mean, I love the way that you phrase that because it's the absolute truth. You should be a private investigator, but you're a journalist, right? So that's what you are. You like dug deep there and you found something, and it's true. What Plum did is we were never satisfied, and I don't know if it was us being self-indulgent as being young or whatever, but we never really locked down on a sound and committed to that sound. So we played in so many different clubs and environments. We let the environment influence us quite a bit. So in the beginning, we locked ourselves in a band room and we came up with a set, and it was very hip hoppy, very Temples of Boomy, Cypress Hill sort of sound, mixed with a little bit of Primus, a lot of slapping bass and funkiness, and we had a sound. Then we started playing, and then clubs like 206 started popping up with just drum and bass, hard,
Mm,
like and dubstep and all this stuff, and we just got influenced over and over. Then we're doing jazz riffs, and we're doing odd timing, 7/8 to 9/9/8 and 11/8, and thinking that this is really cool. But to be honest, we once, and I always say to artists, you never experienced until you've cleared a room. We literally cleared 206 one night. I mean, it's not the proudest moment of our lives,
mm,
but I'm completely humbled to it. The dance floor was full. We got
yeah.
on stage as Plum and we threw this wackiest set together. By the time we finished, there was just the barman. Everyone was outside smoking and drinking. They were like, this is not cool. So we let our selves be too indulgent to satisfy the influence that was happening around us. We never locked down. We always wanted to be more. We always wanted to adventure onto different sounds, even if it wasn't in the Plum
Mm,
realm. I mean, we wrote a disco track. It was completely whack. So yeah, by the time we released All or Nothing, we kind of took All or Nothing and said, cool, all the hip hop, trip hop kind of songs we're going to put from 1 to 5 on the track list, and everything after that where it started getting more rocky and new metal we're going to put after that, and that's why it was kind of like a history of our tracks. And then Troy, our drummer, wanted to try a different lifestyle. He completely went off grid. He is now staying somewhere else, and the band kind of broke up, or did break up. Um, Kevin and myself then sessioned for multiple musicians. We were both in the Arno Carstens band for 10 years. We were both in Chris Chameleon's band, where he did his solo project. We sessioned with Louise Carver. Kevin's a co writer with Josie Fields. played with numerous bands, and that's what we kind of did for 15 years or however, from 2006 until 2025. Yeah, like nearly 20 years, 19 years. We just sessioned, you
Yeah.
know. And we always spoke
Wow.
about getting Plum back together, but it never happened until I was
Yeah.
playing with Blood Honey. So I still play with Blood Honey, and I play bass. And Sito brought this young cat drummer in, Ryan. And Nasiphi, he played one bar on drums. He went,
What?
and I looked at him and I said, we're going to get Plum back together and you're going to be the drummer. And
What?
I've played with plenty drummers, from Arno's drummer to I sessioned for Vonderboom for 2 years when Wade took time off. All beautiful drummers, great drummers. But this guy just had this in his pocket. And then we got Plum back together. I was like, cool, let's do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So shout out to Ryan
Yeah,
for
shout out to
actually,
Ryan and to
having a
Cito
pretty
for the introduction. So we find ourselves in 2024, 25. Kerry Ann, everyone knows the hangout sessions, Kerry Ann. She booked for Plum back in the 90s. And she said, cool, I want to book for you guys a show. And she booked the show. And before you knew it, we had a set together. We were well prepared. We were nice and oiled, like they'd never been away. And people are more receptive to Plum now than they were any other time before. Like everyone's like, why didn't you sound like
wow.
this then? Or, like, I don't know what's changed. Not much has changed. I think music's kind of caught up to what our vision was. And yes, we have tamed it down a little bit conscientiously. We've kind of honed in on something tighter. Not to say we're not going to do a disco track or something weird, something wacky, but for now, yeah, people are enjoying it. Like, it feels like we're back on the right path. I'm loving it. I mean, we all are.
How do you make sure that you sort of get the balance right so that you find the people that it's meant for, considering that not everyone is going to like all the influences
True.
that the band is sort of comprises of, and so on.
I think it's kind of like that once bitten, twice shy type thing. I don't think we will allow ourselves to go into that diverse place again. We've played enough session to be, and still do, to get enough satisfaction with playing other kinds of music. For Plum, before Ryan was even introduced, Kevin and I had a good conversation, and a number of them, of how we're going to approach Plum. Already it's a little bit steering off our conversation, but we're keeping it very tight. I think, Nasipi, the big one is that we're very honest together, Kevin and myself, as songwriters. If he thinks that something I've brought to him is completely cheesy or completely whack or doesn't fit in, he'll say, like, dude, this is off. And we really are each other's biggest fans. We'll be like, that piece over there is that's amazing. Let's hone in on that. Let's make it less complicated. Let's make it more simple in terms of song structure. And we've got enough behind us now to know, cool, if we're going with this theme of a song, because we didn't, when we lost everybody, when we cleared the room at 206, one song would have about 6 or 7 different genres, different timing, different thing. It wasn't like, cool, here's a disco song, here's a new metal song, here's a rap song. It was more like, in one song, here's a bit of disco, here's a bit of rap, here's a bit of metal, here's a waltz out of nowhere. It was like people were, so if I come now with something that's more of a up-tempo funk sort of thing, that's kind of where the song's going to sit. It's not going to delve too much, with slight influences here and there. But yeah, I think it's us just being more mature.
Looking at your guys' timeline, man, we've looked at 90s, how you guys did things back then. We looked at 2005 and what went wrong, and now you're rectifying that. Now looking at Don't Stop Believing, were there any fears, man, considering what had happened in 2005? Obviously now after the fact we know that things actually went well,
Yeah.
but obviously, as you mentioned, yeah, you mentioned the fact that this is the most, or this is the best Plum has ever been received
Yes.
ever, which is absolutely beautiful. But coming in, you obviously don't know that.
I think there was quite a few people asking for a Plum reunion show type thing. That we always knew that the first show was going to be a exhibition kind of show. It was always going to be like full,
Okay.
and people were going to be like, "Yay!" That I don't think many people expected us to carry on. They weren't sure if it was a comeback or a reset or just an exhibition show, for the lack of a better word. I think the fear, not really. I think the whole theme behind the song of Don't Stop Believing is about showing up imperfectly. It is about feeling less than, but still showing up. So it would have been quite of a hypocritical thing if I did hide behind the fear. So fear for me is a state of mind. The things that make me fearful are all the other things around, like, am I good enough? Is it going to be received? Can I still play the chops? Am I too old? All these things will create fear in a state of mind. Whereas happiness is, for me, is also a state of mind, and it's all the things that we feed ourselves. Like, wow, I'm so grateful to still be able to get up on stage and play. I'm still grateful that people still want to hear us. I'm still grateful for the fact that Kev is freaking amazing musician, and Ryan, and I get to share a stage with these guys. That's the kind of thing that I try to hone on to personally to keep me away from fear. It's practicing gratitude every day, every moment in the situation. I've been in some festivals and played some shows where the I'm not going to call it fear. The anxiety level is so high that it makes me stress. I'm like, oh man, is this going to be like, I don't know. Then I try to calm my breathing, and I literally just take myself away and do like a sort of internal gratitude round of be like, look where you are. This is amazing. Look what you're actually doing. And then I try to swing the narrative. Otherwise, man, I've went through a very dark space between 2007 to 2017, which is another story for another time. But I lived in fear for a long time, too scared to even leave my house. And I had to work a big part of myself, do a lot of inventory, get support and help to pull myself out of that. And it's not even a place that I ever want to visit again. So fear for me
Yeah. Yeah.
is not a lack of courage. It's a place that you surrender to, almost like you surrender to being fearful, and it's not somewhere where I want to be again.
I feel like that adds so much value to last year's release. It's absolutely like I'm gonna go listen to that 10 times more with that now in mind. And I really hope for anyone who's watching this as well, it's absolutely beautiful. And I saw as well that it was actually inspired by, the excitement of writing again.
Yeah.
Tell me how that felt. When you guys, it had been so long, 2006 you mentioned. How did that feel?
So that is so cool that you mentioned that, because since 2005 to 2025, Kevin and I have got so many songs on our hard drives, because Kevin he's our secret weapon. The Beatles had a fifth Beatle in the form of George Martin, their producer. Kevin is Plum's fourth member. He is a sound engineer, and a very good one. He masters. He's got his own studio. He's an incredible musician. He's probably the best musician I know, and I know plenty of musicians. Like, he's right up there. And he's got songs on his hard drive for 20 years. I've got songs on my hard drive for 20 years. But knowing when I was writing Don't Stop Believing was literally going to go somewhere and not just sit on a hard drive in a computer that you only get to listen to on yourself, was so spectacular and so amazing that it made me so motivated, I think, the correct word, to do this now. When I was penning the riff for Don't Stop Believing, like, I knew it was going to go, people were going to listen to it. And that's exciting. It's not just going to sit on a hard drive. Because once when you're writing on your own and it's sitting on a hard drive and it doesn't go anywhere, your hard drive just gets more and more folders, more and more tracks. And it's songs. I've got plenty of songs that aren't ever going to go anywhere, but writing, knowing in your head that I'm writing a Plum song and it's going to go somewhere, it's very exciting. Yeah.
Are we ever going to get any of the other stuff that is in the hard drive?
I mean, coming out of my dark phase or whatever, I did release my own album just under Warren Leisha called Back from the Grave. It was never meant to be.
Oh, send me links, bro.
It was never meant to be anything. I never publicized it. I never tried to get airplay. I never tried to get anything. It was just, I needed to get these songs away from me because I was very attached to them. They represent a beautiful but dark side of my life, and I just wanted to release It was actually an internal release or like a stock take and saying, like, I need to just let this go. So some of those songs on our current hard drives, funny enough, you mentioned that. Kev sent me a track not so long ago, and it was a song that was on my hard drive that I'd shared with him, and he shared some with me. I mean, I think elements of the tracks will definitely be exposed. Yeah.
Nice, man. I think if there are any links to the music that you released yourself, like I would love to
Cool.
have a deep dive, on that for
Thank you.
sure. And obviously, the latest now, it's 2026. You obviously released, How the West Was Lost.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. It was my introduction to your guys' stuff. So
Thank you.
obviously, I had to start there, then listen and track back and so on. So it was a really wonderful experience. Tell the listeners about, the song, what it's about and why they should listen to it.
So the song is very relevant now. It's called How the West Was Lost. Pretty much about how empire can slowly lose its moral standing, where the powers that be are more driven by personalities than principles. And the decline of something that has built over so long can rapidly or slowly decline so slowly that no one even knows it's happening. The fall of Rome happened over like 500 or 100 years, however long it took, just nearly 2,000 years ago, where it was the biggest empire and slowly dissipated into, it lost its way. And where we are now, unfortunately, and very relevantly slow, what's going around us is that principles are being blurred by personalities. The freedom that we were told about, the and I think I'm just going to leave it at the word freedom. The freedom that was expressed or promised us in a global way is not happening because personalities have become stronger than principles, and those personalities feed generations. They feed people are now being they're being led and taught by people's personalities as opposed to the principles that they live by. And that is how the West will be lost. That's that the West was lost. I mean, it's lost. It doesn't know. It's like and it's creeping. It's creeping globally. It's something that's very sad. I mean, all my feeds, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure it's globally. All our feeds currently is missiles, bombs, you don't even know what's real anymore. AI is so rampant. I'm watching a video and I'm like, I do not know if this missile attack is real or not. It's like some of them are games, and they rightfully say at the end, "This is a game," and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, can you imagine the propaganda that's being fed now in this day and age? When in 1939, 1940, when Hitler was taking over Europe, the propaganda that was fed there. Then they used to fly planes
Yeah.
over Britain and neighboring countries and throw out false flyers, like you would get a print of something,
Yeah.
or be like, "What?" Yeah. Now it's just on our phones. You open your phone and it's right in your
It's
face.
right there.
Yeah. So
Mm. Yeah.
the song, back to the song "How the West Was Lost," is primarily a Kev song. Kev came with it. It's very, you can hear it's very good, even though it sounds like it's very bass driven. It's all written on Kev's guitar. It's his vision, his intellect. He's a solid human being. He's very intelligent, and he's brought this to our Plum world. "Don't Stop Believing" was quite spiritually induced. This song is like, it's an intellectual song. The lyrics are very profound intellectually, and yeah, he's the driver in this track. He's come up with something really cool. Obviously, I take the first verse, where I get to add my own input. The song is written slightly with both of our approvals and ideas, but primarily it's a Kev track. Yeah, we are actually releasing another track coming up in about a month's time called Fairness, which I'm not going to say too much about, but know that there's more releases coming up. It's ready to go. Yeah.
Thank you for actually mentioning that because we actually are right towards the end and I did want to ask what the plans are, what is coming up for you guys. So that is something to look
Yeah.
forward to. Is there anything else? Can we see
So
you guys at shows maybe? Do you have music videos planned?
yes. So thank you very much. We've got some shows coming up. We've just come back from Cape Town. We're getting a really cool triple bill show coming together. But yes, we're going to be playing
Okay. Yeah.
Pretoria, Cape Town. I mean Pretoria and Joburg. That's coming up. In terms of music videos, we will be releasing a music video for How the West Was Lost. Kevin's actually taken this on his own vibe, which is very cool. And then for fairness, the next track coming up, we've got James Berto, who's a filmmaker. He's taken reins on making the video. We're starting to shoot next week. He's got his storyboards together. He's got his plan. He's got his editing skills. We've got a very beautiful model, fashion designer. We are in such a good space at the moment, Nasiphi. Like every time we get together,
Yeah.
we writing. So Fairness is coming out, and I think there's about another 3 tracks that are in pre-production.
That makes me happy, man. Nothing makes me happier than just hearing that you guys are in a really good space. And I really hope that everything that you guys have coming up kicks off, bro. You guys deserve it. You have been doing this for a very long time. I want to thank you as well, Warren,
Thank
for
you.
joining me today, taking time aside to do this interview. I want to
Thank
send
you.
a shout out to Plug Music Agency as well. Warren, shout out to you, dude, for making this happen. And yeah, man. So, Warren, if anyone wants to get in touch with you and your band, what are the handles for them?
Plum Band on Facebook and on Instagram. Those are our handles. Plum Music, I think, on Spotify. I actually don't even see. This is why you hire management. So Praise Aloud is our management team, and Plug Music is our publicist. So yeah, I mean, if you look hard enough, you'll find us. If you just type Plum,
Awesome.
How the West Was Lost, or Plum, Don't Stop Believing,
Yeah.
or Plum, Drowning, or All or Nothing, like you'll find us. You'll find us on the networks.
Awesome, guys. We're about to take off now. Find everything on our website, sludgeunderground.com, and you can find me at Zwane031. It's been myself and Warren. We'll catch you guys next time. It is bye for now.